Brands spend millions and millions of dollars designing their packages and their adverts, trying to convince you to buy their product. But legally, they're not allowed to say anything that is misleading or deceptive that would cause you to either buy the product or pay more for the product than you would have if you knew that that wasn't true. So let's look at a few cases, starting with Toblerone that was all over the news last year.
Toblerone. This is a brand that everybody associates with Switzerland.
Food products claiming to be Swiss must be sourced or processed in Switzerland.
Toblerone can no longer be legally marketed as Swiss.
Because it's moving production from Switzerland to Slovakia.
It's no longer Swiss enough for Switzerland. The company's removing the Swiss Alps Matterhorn logo from the packages.
According to Mondelez, Toblerones are still made in Switzerland. They're just also made at a factory in Slovakia. Now, according to Swiss rules, you cannot use the Swiss iconography like the Matterhorn mountain or the words Swiss chocolate unless it's all made in Switzerland using Swiss ingredients. So a year later, where has all of this landed? Well, the boxes used to say Swiss milk chocolate and of Switzerland. Now they say established in Switzerland 1908 and just milk chocolate, not Swiss milk chocolate or Slovakian milk chocolate. And as for the mountain, well, that's changed from the iconic Matterhorn mountain into a more generic triangular shaped mountaintop. It still contains the hidden bear, and I do wonder if consumers outside of Switzerland would have even noticed this change if it hadn't have been on the news. Swiss chocolate does have a reputation for being good chocolate, but in this case I wonder if Toblerone has a big enough reputation of its own to be able to lose the Swiss and still have the sales. Losing the Swiss chocolate has two advantages. One is you can move production outside of Switzerland and it's a lot cheaper to do that. For the price that you'd pay for one factory worker in Switzerland, you can hire 4 in Slovakia, so that's a big saving. The other saving is, as I said before, the ingredients had to be majority from Switzerland, with the exception of ingredients that they don't grow or produce, like cocoa, which grows in the tropical cocoa belt across the equator and not in Switzerland. If we just look at the milk though, back in 2015, Toblerone said this.
The milk for the milk powder comes from 14,000 Swiss cows. They give all their milk solely for making Toblerone.
Sales have only increased since then, so they need a lot of milk powder to make all the Toblerones. Being able to source that from anywhere in the world now would definitely bring the price down for their ingredients. So what do you think? Does having ingredients from anywhere in the world and having the factory in Slovakia make a difference as to whether you would buy a Toblerone or not? Or are you happy as long as the recipe stayed the same? Next, there seems to be a trend in suing fast food chains.
Both Wendy's and McDonald's are being sued over the size of their burgers.
Alleges Burger King inflated the size of its signature Whopper sandwich.
Class action lawsuit from customers accusing the companies of defrauding their customers. The lawsuit seeks unspecified damages.
We're thinking that we're getting a Big Mac with the big hamburger, and it's a small hamburger.
The case in New York against Wendy's and McDonald's alleged that they overstated the amount of beef in the patties in their advertising photos compared to what the customer actually gets. Now, both Wendy's and McDonald's said they do not use more meat to create those pictures than what the customer gets. In this case, the judge actually dismissed the case, partly because they couldn't prove that the person who was suing them had even seen the images before they purchased the product, which is a major flaw in the case, and also because they said the reasonable consumer would not have been misled by the adverts. Now there's a new case with Burger King being sued for the same deal. And Burger King says that food in advertisements is and always has been styled to make it look as appetizing as possible, and that the reasonable consumer viewing food advertising knows that. But in this case, the judge did not dismiss it. They said it should be up to a jury to decide what reasonable people think. So let's take a look for ourselves and see, is this just a case of food styling and lawyers trying to get into deep pockets of fast food chains, or is there something deceptive going on? Maccas is the closest fast food to my house, so we're picking on them. This is a double quarter pounder, and as you'd expect, the neatness of it does not match the advertising at all. But the question is, can we style what they've given us to look like the advert? Is the product the same despite the rushed, slapped together job done by the teenager trying to get the orders out as fast as possible? After pulling it all apart and neatly restacking everything, it looks like this. A blowtorch doesn't seem to be melting the cheese, so I'm going to have to put it in the microwave. Now, apart from the fact that I burnt the cheese, they do actually look pretty similar to me in terms of the amount of meat advertised on the Australian menu. This is what we were served, and here's the ad. And this is what we were served after styling. But interestingly, this is the Australian menu, and on the US menu picture for the same burger, it does seem to have a lot thicker meat. There's no way I could make the meat look that thick unless I got the patty that was raw and cut it in half and made it double the thickness and fried that up, but then the other half is empty. Anyway, let's take a look at the Big Mac. For some reason, mine came with no pickles or onions, so I had to borrow those from the other burger. And after restyling it, it doesn't look as tall as theirs. And I can only fix that by ripping meat off the back of the burger and putting it under the middle of the patty to lift it up. To me, this sort of thing goes beyond food styling. It's more food remodeling. And if the back of the burger has to be half empty to make the front look good, it's not really representative of what you're getting. This is the menu ad, and this is my remodeled burger. In the ad, the patty is wider than the bun, and mine is definitely smaller. What do you think? As a reasonable consumer, do you expect the food photos on the menu to be styled and pretty but true, or do you expect them to be remodeled and exaggerated? Which one is okay? And I guess importantly for a class action, would it affect how much you would pay and whether or not you would buy the product if you knew the truth? Next, the question is, how hot is too hot?
Denmark has banned a super spicy noodle.
3 types of instant noodles made by South Korean food giant Samgyang.
The Danish government says it might cause acute poisoning.
The reason? A spicy compound called capsaicin.
They pulled 3 varieties of noodles off the shelves in response to the Scoville rating, or the heat rating, that the company themselves had published on their website. After doing their own independent testing, the Danish Food Authority said 2 of those ratings were over-exaggerated and those products could go back on the shelf. But the third one, the 3 times spicy, is still banned. Now, this is an interesting one to me, because as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think any country in the world currently has the amount of capsaicin you can add to a product limited in their food standards. I don't think it even says how you have to label it or if there's any warnings you have to state on the packaging. It's just not covered. But with the number of hot, spicy food challenges going on at the moment and trending on social media, it seems that different companies just are trying to outdo each other, and they're selling really well, so this trend is likely to continue. But many of the products have no specific labelling on them saying exactly how spicy they are. Some of them say vague things like made using Carolina Reapers, which actually tells us nothing. We know Carolina Reapers is spicy, but we have no idea how much of that you've put in this product, so we don't know how spicy this product is, which is why I think a lot of the videos watching them are popular, because people are trying to gauge how hot is this product really. But that's very subjective because different people respond differently to different amounts of capsaicin.
It is extraordinarily hot on my tongue.
Oh, I feel my heartbeat right here.
That's hot.
I can't even talk.
This is horrible.
It's tasty though.
It doesn't go away.
I'm getting lightheaded.
I just threw up.
Oh, dude, this is crazy. This is so bad, dude.
You can actually test in a lab using high-pressure liquid chromatography exactly how much capsaicin is in a food, and then you can use that result to convert it into a Scoville rating. But even if you put the Scoville rating on the packet, that on its own can be a bit confusing for people when you're comparing between different types of foods. Let me show you what I mean. So if you were to take this jalapeno, for example, it has a Scoville rating of 6,250. It's variable depending on where it was grown and the conditions it was grown in, but that's an average for jalapenos. If we were to take this habanero, the average Scoville rating is a whopping 225,000. So we can tell from that that this is a lot more spicy than this one is. Now, if we bring back our 3 times spicy noodles, the Scoville rating on this one is 13,200. So more than the jalapeno, but a lot less than we had for our habanero. Now, from this Scoville rating, I can calculate how much capsaicin you would eat if you had this. So let's start with the jalapeno. If you were to eat this whole one, then you would get 5 milligrams of capsaicin. Now, if we were to eat this whole habanero chili, you are going to get a lot more spice. You're going to get 169 milligrams of capsaicin in that one. So it's packing a lot more punch. Now, if you were to eat one packet, this has multiple packets in it, but one packet of these noodles prepared as they say to prepare them, then you would get 314 milligrams of capsaicin, which is more than in the habanero. Why, you might be asking? Because the Scoville scale is actually telling you the concentration of capsaicin per gram. It's not telling you the total amount you would get if you ate all of it. So you have to look at the weight of the food that you're eating. So you're eating a much larger bowl of noodles than you are if you just ate this one habanero. If I gave you 2 habaneros, we would be doubling the amount of capsaicin, which makes sense. But when you just see the different ratings, some people assume that this isn't as hot as this, but you're actually getting more capsaicin if you ate the noodles than you would if you ate the habanero. So you kind of need the Scoville rating plus something that tells you the total amount of capsaicin that's in the food that you're going to eat, particularly with these extremely spicy, challenging foods. And does it even matter? Is capsaicin dangerous for you? Is it bad for you?
My mouth is on fire. Yeah.
What if we increase the amounts and keep increasing the amounts? Does it get to a point where people who are otherwise healthy end up in hospital?
The hottest thing I ever ate was the standard capsaicin. It was the stupidest thing I ever did. My face was numb for a good 4 or 5 hours. I looked like I was gonna die. There was just drool coming out of my mouth and all down my shirt. That one took like 4 hours to go away. I was in a fetal position for most of those 4 hours, and I did not know where I was.
When they've done animal studies, there is a point where you get to a lethal dose. No people have got to a lethal dose unless they have some other condition, like there was unfortunately a teen who died.
The chief medical examiner's office in Massachusetts says the 14-year-old died of a high chili consumption, which triggered a heart attack. The teen, who had a congenital heart defect, was attempting Pocky's ultra-spicy one-chip challenge.
The product has been voluntarily removed from the shelves for the moment. I personally don't like eating super spicy food. I don't mind a little bit of spice, but this is not in my wheelhouse. Some people, though, really enjoy it. Like James, my eldest, likes spicy food. He'll probably have a go at these voluntarily, and if he wants to, I'll put that on Patreon behind the scenes for you to see. But I would love it if these products did have not only the Scoville rating, but the total amount of capsaicin in the product, so that people who like spicy food can make informed decisions about what they are trying, and they know what's going to be more spicy than what they've had before, and slowly build up their tolerance if that's what they want to do. With thanks to everyone who has bought Dave's second novel in the Deep Enders series and left a lovely review on Amazon and the booksellers that you've bought it from. Really appreciate that. That has really blessed him. And don't forget, if you have this book in your hot little hands, you can enter the competition to win a 30-minute Zoom with Dave and myself, and also a Deep Enders prize pack that we will post out to you. I will put a link to that competition in the description below. And also thank you to my lovely, wonderful, amazing patrons. If you want a free book plate for your book, just fill in the form on Patreon so that we can post that out to you. The book plate form closes this week, so get onto that straight away if you want to get one of those. Make it a great week by being kind to others, and I'll see you on Friday.